The Carolina Hurricanes are on to the Eastern Conference Final after downing the New Jersey Devils in 5. Jared Ellis of Locked On Hurricanes is here to discuss how they advanced and what they'll have to do to beat the Florida Panthers and have a chance to be in the Stanley Cup Final. All that and more on today's Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome, everybody, to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to thank everyone for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe to Locked On NHL, wherever you get podcasts, on YouTube, and now available on SiriusXM on the SXM app. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the show Jared Ellis of Locked On Carolina Hurricanes. And Jared, Eastern Conference Final now for the Canes. What made them? What was the key to beating a young, fast team like the New Jersey Devils in 5 games?
So I think there's two things here that really played a big factor in them beating the Devils in 5. First and foremost was their next man up mentality. They're without a lot of key players: Andrei Svechnikov, Max Pacioretty, Teuvo Teravainen, and guys got to step up. And Jordan Martinook, he was the standout player in that series, having a Wayne Gretzky-esque series, 10 points in 5 games, absolutely ridiculous for him. But guys up and down the lineup were stepping up big. Issue in the first round against your Islanders was the lack of offense from the blue line. It really funneled through there in the regular season. Brent Burns, yeah, he had 5 assists. But in terms of actual goal scoring, Jacob Slavin was the only defenseman to notch a goal in that series. That ended up changing in this series against Devils. Brent Burns, Brady Shea, Brett Pesce, those guys were able to get back on the score sheet. So that was big for them as well. And then also kind of cliche, but simply their experience. Like you said, the Devils were really young, really hungry. Yeah, they have guys on that team with playoff experience, but as a whole, they don't really have anything over there. The Carolina Hurricanes, they've been to the playoffs for now 5 straight years. Their core guys, they know what it's like to win in the playoffs, but a really important thing for them now is that they know what it's like to lose in the playoffs, and they're tired of it. And they've been able to get over that second round hump and get back to the conference final.
Yeah, always important to be able to do that. Got to talk about Frederik Andersen, though. He really was outstanding in round 2 after missing almost all of round 1.
Yeah, he was absolutely fantastic. There was, I believe it was game 3 where the Devils, really beat the brakes off the Hurricanes, but that was kind of the tail of the tape for the whole series. But yeah, he's doing what the Hurricanes wanted him to do when they brought him in. He was supposed to be their number 1 goalie that takes them on a run in the playoffs, and now he's able to do that because he wasn't healthy for last postseason. I believe it was like an MCL or ACL tear or whatever. But he wasn't able to be a part of that last year. And now he's here this year and he's really doing everything he can. He's cool, calm, collective. Freddie, we all know how he is. Fredzilla in between the pipes. And he's doing everything that he's supposed to do. And he's got a good team playing in front of him, really good defensively. And I think that's something that's really helping him out as well. Because everyone, heck, I was, nervous about it when he first came here, was the Toronto playoffs. We all know how it was there during his time there. And here he has a team that's better defensively playing out in front of him, and he's able to stick to his game better.
Talk to me about Rod Brind'Amour, because in the first round series against the Islanders, I thought he was one of the reasons why Carolina won. And I just think he's one of the better coaches in the league. What has he added to the mix this year in particular that's helped the Carolina Hurricanes?
Oh, man. So there's We could be here for hours talking about what he does to team. But I think a big thing that has helped them in the playoffs so far is the fact that they have home ice. They get that last change when they're playing at home. He's able to get the matchups that he wants. We didn't see that in Game 3 against New Jersey. He wasn't able to get the matchups that he was wanting. Putting Jordan Staal against Jack Hughes. You saw how much Staal and that line was able to shut down that particular line for New Jersey. So he's been able to get the matchups that he's been wanting this playoff. But I think it's something with him is that he's able to get the players to buy in, and he's really able to connect with his players. Guys that still play here, guys that don't play here anymore. They all talk about how he's players coach. People want to play for him. A big thing that I think sets him apart from other coaches. No disrespect to the other coaches, but he's been there, done that. He was a player. He played for years and years and years. He went to 3 Stanley Cup finals. He won a Stanley Cup. He knows what it's like to win. And guys know that when he's telling them, hey, you need to do this and not that, he knows what he's talking about because he has literally been there and done it. And he knows how to connect with these players and get the best out of them.
So the Florida Panthers are the opponent in the Eastern Conference Final, and they've been on a roll as well. To me, I look at the team. I've watched them a number of games. What do the Carolina Hurricanes have to do to slow down Matthew Tkachuk, who seems to be the catalyst there for that offense?
I think the Hurricanes defense is going to be key here. You look at kind of how they're, like we just said, they're able to shut down Jack Hughes in that series against the Devils. Their matchups are going to be key here. You're going to want to pick your best defensive players against Matthew Tkachuk to shut him down. And they're really going to have to tighten up defensively. They were pretty tight, for the large majority of the playoffs, with the exception of that one game. You're not going to have to. They can't give openings to Florida the way they did to the Devils, where the Devils were just kind of able to pick apart the Hurricanes defense. They're going to have to be able to get the matchups that they want. And home ice is going to be key here because you are going to be able to get that stuff. But defense is really just going to be key here. The Hurricanes are one of the best defensive teams in the NHL, so that's obviously something that works in their favor in that regard. Penalty kill has been outstanding throughout the playoffs, so that's going to be another key piece there. And then also supporting the goalies, whoever ends up being in net, don't leave those guys out to dry, whether it's Frederik Andersen, Antti Raanta, or if we see Pyotr Kochetkov, support those guys. Don't let them have to stand on their heads to make crazy saves.
Makes sense. And give me an unsung player who doesn't get a lot of headlines, who you think will be very important in this series against Florida.
That is very easy, and that is Jaccob Slavin. He is not a guy that gets a whole lot of headlines. He's obviously starting to get some, because it's in the conference final. Everyone's going to get that stuff now. But he is the best defensive defenseman in the NHL. And yeah, he's not, super flash. He doesn't put up a ton of points, but if we were talking, when it comes to the Norris Trophy, if we're like defensemen, like actually playing defense, not, putting up a bunch of points, Jaccob Slavin's a finalist every year. So he's going to be really important here. You figure, you're going to get him and Brent Burns going out there against Matthew Tkachuk. They're probably going to be with that Jordan Staal line as well, shutting them down. But Jaccob Slavin, he's going to be really, really important here.
All right, Jared, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
Yeah, you can find the Locked On Hurricanes podcast wherever you get your podcast, wherever you're listening to this one. It is going to be there. It is, of course, also available on the SiriusXM app, the SXM app. Oh, good Lord. Choking on my tongue there. And then, of course, it is also going to be over on the Locked On Hurricanes YouTube channel. We're closing in on 400 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed over there, hit that subscribe button.
All right, Jared, thanks so much. Always a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, always a pleasure, Gil. Hopefully we're talking again soon.
Today's episode is brought to you by a product I literally use every day, AG1 by Athletic Greens. Maybe you're like me, you want to be healthy and eat well, but it's easier said than done. That's no longer the case with AG1. With one delicious scoop of AG1 and a glass of water each day, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, immune system, energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all these things. AG1 costs you less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. That's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.